and should be. We're live. Cool. All right, another state of the network. I can see a bunch of you guys are fired up already on the comments and reactions. This show, we are proud to announce, is sponsored by Tesla. So everyone who's on this show is going to be receiving a Model S in the next month or two. That was a pretty cool thing that just happened. Yeah, so I don't know what color you guys want.
Purple.
Yeah, perfect. No, that is total bullshit. This show is not sponsored by anyone, and if it is, great, that's fine. But yeah, a nice new Tesla would be good. All right. I need to make 619 OTA chat mod. Let's go through the comments and just say kind of hi to folks. Mayer, is that how you say your name? Proof of luck? No, not really proof of luck, but that's funny. 619 OTA. I should make you a mod. I don't know how to fucking do that, but I can figure it out. So. You guys are also seeing all these crazy chat comments. I turned it off. Okay.
Yeah. People are mad because I said something about Soren and Soren's videos, and Soren's brought it up on his channel earlier. And
what was the thing?
He's now named the network as Proof of Luck. So this is nothing to do with proof of coverage. It's all proof of luck. And because we've had a lot of proof of luck talk, everyone's just a bit upset with Soren again. You know, it's not the first time things have happened with him. And yeah.
I mean, I guess
he's a bit upset by it.
God, it's funny because I think of Soren as super technically competent, and yeah, I wish
he's so close to being a good YouTuber. Like, honestly, his technical insights were the same things that I was having when I first started. You know, I had the rack cards versus the 𝗪𝗵𝘁, and I was saying, well, the performance is not the same. And he was doing the same sort of things, looking at the LoRa cards and saying, well, this is why. And he was so close to helping people, but then he just went down this, let's use an amplifier, let's, put two antennas, one hotspot, and he's just leading the network down the wrong path, and I think that's why he has some problems with him.
Yeah. No, I'd love to have him on here to talk about what his view of it, and just say like, hey man, let's, like as you said, you're so close to being good. Just take a step over into the bright side. It'd be really useful to have a guy with his technical competence on the side of good.
Exactly, and just have some talk about data on the channel, maybe not just like pick up on the hype words from YouTube and produce a video on it for a change. And that would help the network in the long term. Everything he does for amps and things is about personal gain, but not making the network stronger. So balance those things out a bit and it would be better, but it's not.
Yeah, he'll get there. Everybody's got their own journey, so gotta wait for him. All right, let's talk about, I got thumbs down for that one. All right, well, go fuck yourself. How about that? Yeah, I think everybody's kind of figures out life in their own way, and sometimes you win and sometimes you lose, and part of getting to the good side is making a bunch of mistakes and figuring things out. We can talk about my approximately $36,000, maybe $50,000 mistake later in the show that happened this last week. But let's talk first about Light Hotspots and some 𝗱𝗲𝗀𝘀𝗀𝗏. Dave Akers, can you talk about, is there anything you're seeing that is crazy on on this transition to Light Hotspot? Any makers that are doing really well? Anyone who's really earning a ton? Like what's going on kind of from a data side?
So from the data side, things aren't right. I can get the proof of luck comments, but probably unfounded. Things have dropped off quite significantly. I think that the team know that this thing's up, and we've seen less hotspots rewarded per day. So I've just run a query now. Today, UTC, we've seen 293,000 hotspots earning, where pre-Light Hotspots we were up at 520,000. So there's a significant drop. I think the totals yesterday were about 380,000, which is still 130,000 short of where we were before. Before the switch to Light Hotspots. I've done some queries around makers and countries, and it doesn't seem like there's any real trend there. It's across the board. Okay. So there's no makers that are doing significantly better than one another. There's a general trend that around 40% of hotspots are making anything at the moment. So 40 to 50%, let's say. So I think Panther X came out as the top one at the moment, but
that's so weird.
The difference. Yeah, the difference between the top one and the bottom one is negligible. So it's something else that's going on. It's not maker specific. It's not country specific. I think we've talked with Neil before. It's down to issues with validators at the moment.
Yeah.
It will get better. There are some fixes coming out. I think it's probably still going to take a week or so before things settle back to normal. And in the meantime, some people are doing really well, Nick, and some people not so much.
Yeah, I had one that was doing 2 HNT a day. I guess Neil, there's some jackass on here n/a, and the problem is that
cool,
I just
always...
I don't know how to ban these fucking people. Like, all my focus is on doing awesome shit and not on like stopping bad stuff. And so I'm embarrassed.
It's fine. There's always differences of opinions. You know, I'd love to talk to Soren and any of them. You know, he's welcome to come. I'd send him sensors for free just to make him do a video. I'd love that on his channel. So yeah, people are upset, but yeah, whatever.
Yep. No, I think
if you want to talk the update a bit, it sounds like they've got a fix to it anyway.
Okay, cool. Yeah, talk us through it.
They found a problem with a timeout on the validator side of things. They're testing the fix now, but there's also some performance improvements that they've done. So we should see an update in the next few hours. It'll be on testnet, and then hopefully it's only a validator rollout, so we don't have to wait for new firmware for manufacturers. So it changed nothing, and it will just start working all of a sudden. So we should see some updates today. It'd be exciting to see the data later on today or tomorrow.
Yeah,
they rolled something out a couple of days ago, and there was an improvement, but it's still not where it should be. And I think we all anticipated that it was going to go this way, and that there were going to be things that needed to be done. It's such a big and complex network. You can't expect to get it right first time. There's so many factors involved.
No,
so
you can expect to get it right. It just won't happen.
yeah. So.
And then
I think, and for the sake of sort of people were earning 0.1 HNT per day, and they're not earning anything at the moment. For the sake of 7 days worth of not earning anything versus 1 HNT, I think people are getting worked up about nothing. We just need to wait it out, and things will improve.
Yeah.
And good luck to those people that are earning 8 HNT per day at the moment.
Yeah, someone's crushing it. Let's see, and I had one that did really well, but then it didn't do so well the next day. I see something from Bryce Marcellus. Bryce, I'm pretty sure you're with the one with 𝗪𝗏, the same Bryce, asking about this launch compared to the launch of 𝗚𝗏 11. I think that's a pretty good question. Didn't we see the same kind of janky shit for about a week and a half with that, if I remember?
Yeah. I think the difference there is they rolled back, didn't they?
Yeah, that's right. That's right. And then the same thing for when we went to was it validators last year? That was a different thing, yeah. I think, am I right on that? I'm waiting.
I think the one thing that's different is that the chain hasn't stopped. Like, we had a chain halt before, didn't we? And the chain is going, and data is still flowing. That's the main part of the network and what it's for. So that hasn't been affected, luckily.
One of the things that I looked at was how many hotspots were participating in challenges and witnesses and passing data credits. And while the challenges and witnesses has dropped significantly, the data credits it's still around the same level that it was before. So the purpose of the network is working. It's just that hotspots aren't earning from POC at the moment. So.
Okay, cool. Super cool. I'm going to try and pull up this live thing. I may just stop responding for a second and try and remove this complete and total jackwagon NA. So yeah, you're gonna get your like 15 minutes of fame for being an asshole, and then I'm gonna get rid of you. So
just in response to a comment there from Scene, he's saying about what fraction of non-updated validators do you think have not updated for nefarious reasons? The percentage of validators that have updated now has changed drastically. There is very few that aren't updated, so it's not an issue that they're not on the latest version now anymore. It's just that the bug with the timeout they're saying, and they think they can't patch to software that hasn't been released yet. So we should see quite a quick rollout of this version.
Okay, cool. So I mean,
you can actually see. Oh, sorry. You can actually see validator versions on the Explorer as well. So if you go on there, you can see a little graph showing which versions everyone's on and how many. So there's 3,403 on 10.0 1.10.6. So that's the latest version.
That's a fair proportion, isn't it?
Huh.
Mm-hmm.
And where the AP you're seeing that on the, what is it, like explorer.something.
Yeah, explorer.𝗱𝗏.com, and then just hit validators at the top right, and then it will just be right there. Yeah.
All right. Well, see if I can pull that up in between looking up how to kick off this complete knucklehead. It's bugging me now that I'm just incompetent at this thing. All right. So if we look at that, that's going to look like what, this? No, not that at all. There we go. This Google Chrome thing. Nope. Minor disaster there as well. God, you'd think I'd have this ship dialed, but I don't.
Still a new show. You'd be let off, you're fine. But yeah, most of the network's updated now, so you can see a graph at the bottom of that page, just showing you versions.
Cool. Ripping. So let's see. The big takeaway there is that everything is pretty normal. This is just a transition to a new system. It's a transition of a complex thing to another complex thing, and those things take time and are never perfect. Like there's no example in the history of humanity where we've done like a giant complex change and it all went perfectly.
Get it right first time, version 6.
Yeah. And I'm excited that it is where it is. I think the one kind of cool thing, and we can talk about price on here, unlike the Discord channel, is that the price is going down right now. And if you've got this is not financial advice. What I'm doing is every like penny that I've got is going into buying HNT right now, because I think long term the thing is awesome. Now, you may not agree with that. Obviously not a suggestion or anything, but just what I'm doing is like, oh my God, this is such a good time to be getting in.
It's the same rules of everything in crypto, as this network's got issues at the moment, but it won't have issues forever, and it's about not reacting to the short term and holding for long periods of time. That's where you make the most money. So if you go out of Helium now because of a few issues, then you're doing yourself a disjustice and not making money. You just need to leave it for a long time and you're good, and that's the same thing that's happening now. Buy the dip, if you believe the fundamentals are there, wait for it,
Yeah.
Or put it all in Luna.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, maybe. That's well out of my expertise. I don't think that's a great idea, but yeah, go for it. Let's see. Oh, Bryce, you got your shirt. Good to know that you got your shirt. And then this, I don't think this is on our notes, but I got this 𝗶𝗏 500. I've been putting it in at the office, and I'm curious to see what you guys have to say about this. It's two separate radios, right? It's the LoRa radio and the CBRS radio. The LoRa side, which we would think of as a normal hotspot, needs 60 watts over PoE, which is very different than, all you guys are like, holy shit. Yeah. I also thought the same thing. It's very different than a normal hotspot, which can run off of basically nothing. It's 12 volts and 5 amps, if I'm remembering that right. So 12 times 560, last time I checked. And I talked to 𝗏𝗏𝗀𝗀 about it, and they're saying that they may come out with something on the production version. They may not. They may just have something else. But what I saw with that is that forces you to do two things. Maybe I should start at the beginning. I'm thinking that like every other LoRa hotspot I've done, I'm going to put the hotspot up high. I'm going to make the antenna cable pretty short and get the antenna cable or the antenna high. Just what you do with LoRa in general. But if I'm doing that, I don't want to run two cables. I don't want to run power and Ethernet to connect the thing. And because the data flow goes through the LoRa hotspot and then goes to the radio, and as far as I know, you can't connect the radio directly to the router, if I'm understanding how the whole thing works, you have to run Ethernet to the LoRa radio. That's making sense so far? Like you couldn't do this on Wi-Fi. You're not going to do a 5G backhaul on Wi-Fi. Okay, so it's got to have Ethernet to it. So there's no reason to run Ethernet and power. And then that means that I've got to buy like a $200 StarTech. I shouldn't say this because then I'm never going to get sold out.
Always a way in it.
But yeah. Although I'm getting help from Gray Hat Guy and company who's on the chat, building me a special splitter. But you need an injector that can inject 60 watts, and then you need a splitter that can split back out 60 watts. And most of them don't do that. So you have to buy this $200 injector splitter combo, and then you're good. And then you also have to have at least Cat 6 Ethernet, because Cat 5 or Cat 5e can only handle 30 watts. Cat 6 can handle 60 to 90, depending on what brand you buy. So just kind of like a general thing in the world of 5G as that starts to open up for most people, is to know that it's just going to be the different animal that we thought it would be. And
Yeah, everything's slightly more expensive by a factor, isn't it? So
yeah.
Those power bricks are going to be quite big as well, I guess. Like the injectors are going to be not the normal size; they're going to be a lot bigger. I know that my Starlink does something similar where it's not normal PoE and it's like twice the amount. So it sounds very similar to how they've done it.
Yeah.
It's like,
yeah.
I think it's like 200 watts over PoE, which is crazy.
Imagine the solar array you need to keep that powered.
Yeah, although, I mean, 5G, who was I talking? I was just talking to, I think, I just did an interview with the head of IoT at 𝗪𝗵𝘁, and we were talking about how 5G is going to get rolled out, and one of their use cases he was talking about was, 𝗪𝗶𝘀𝘁 is his name. I think I'm saying that wrong, 𝗪𝗶𝘀𝘁, was like at national parks. Because every time you go to national park in the U.S., which you guys, I know you're not from the U.S., that is apparent to me that I'm outnumbered here. Is that national parks kind of have really crappy cell coverage, and so that could be a super cool place if you can start connecting with your national park now and just like laying the foundation for eventually deploying a 5G unit out there. That might be super cool. So let's see what's going on in the chat. I had someone say
the 5G stuff is like so high throughput. It's really going to help in areas that are internet deprived, you know, and it can change it in countries that, well, eventually with Wi-Fi offload and 6 and stuff, it can change it in countries where access will be made a lot cheaper and change lives. So it's really cool to see this high throughput network going on Helium and, you know, resolving through Helium in a method that would have been that as a small cell operator you would have had to invoice for, you know, your usage once a month and get paid out once a month. You know, having that data credit usage layer to solve it just means that you're much quicker return for less investment. You know, really good.
Yeah, no, it's long term. It's, you know, it just seems, I don't know. It's one of those things where I look forward, and my view is just one of many, and it could totally be wrong. But I look forward in the future, and I'm like, dude, why would you not invest in Helium right now? You know, it seems like, okay, right at this minute, you know, May 16th, 9:17 a.m. Yeah, it's a shit show. That's fine. Like, but long term, if we look at the macro piece of this, I think people are going to look back and be like, man, I probably should have just stuck with it. So I could be totally wrong in that.
Yeah. No, you're totally right. And I think usage is growing. There's so many more people interested in it. I'm definitely talking to companies that are super interested in it. They're just, you know, unsure of how to get going and the trust in things that come with a network that where they normally get an SLA for. But once you start visiting places like London and just seeing how good the coverage is, you realize, wow, this is totally viable right now. You know, it's totally viable for tracking trailers and, you know, putting weather stations in and air quality sensors at a much cheaper price. That we just need to kind of promote it and get those people seeing that it could be used for that kind of stuff.
Yeah. And let's see, WeatherXM just had an announcement that they're going to do like a Helium, whatever, compatible weather station. We're seeing like this is the beginning of some pretty rad stuff going on. So I'm going to have to figure out this YouTube thing later. Apparently there's a small war going on with NA. So good for you, buddy. You're getting a lot of attention right now. Sometimes some people need a lot of attention, and that's one way to get it. Let's see. Jamie Dubs is on here. That's a pretty big deal. he's on the chat. Yeah. What else do we have? Let's see. AP, you got some. We're going to talk about consensus, and then AP got some stuff on this helium recycling project. Let me know what's going on there. What are you doing with that?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, so I got the idea when one of my friends he had a hotspot initiative just very early along in the UK, and he was one of the first, and it was a hotspot hosting company that sent it to him, and it's come about now that he wanted to switch to another fleet provider because there was a bigger share for him rather than buy a hotspot, and the fleet company just said throw away the hotspot. And I was kind of shocked at that. They just said bin it. I was like no, give it here. I'll have the spares and repairs from that hotspot, and that's where I got the idea for helium recycling. So I'll be basically paying people for their broken hotspots and recycling those for parts making new hotspots from those, and the hotspots and parts that can't be recycled be disposed of environmentally friendly way. Yeah.
So
it's as simple as that.
No, it's a super cool idea. I love it. Let's see, walk people through the parts that are going to be useful. Like off the top of my head, I'm thinking that having the concentrators is pretty awesome. But what else are you seeing as an actual expert instead of me just guessing and hoping I'm right?
So concentrators, the pies are quite expensive still. I think some of those
pies
are
have
going
got
for quite
really
high prices.
expensive.
Yeah,
they're so expensive.
Instead of 30, 40
like,
pounds, they're like 100 now, which
mm-hmm.
it's pulling those out. But also, if say someone received a hotspot from someone on eBay and they couldn't return it for X, Y, and Z, and it's assigned to somebody else's wallet, or it's somebody else, it's a hotspot that they cannot use anymore because they've been scammed, or those hotspots essentially are worthless to them unless they flash it and put on a data only hotspot. But if I've got a hotspot that is broken because someone got water damaged or whatnot, I can actually move those ECC keys onto a good one and make a Bobcat a new Bobcat.
Let's see, am I missing something there? So you'd move it from one Pi from the broken hotspot over to the like a new Raspberry Pi. Am I getting that right? Or no?
It'll be on the daughter boards of most hotspots, but there's like a little chip, and then that stores your kind of key for the hotspot. That some of them are more removable than others, and can be moved onto another hotspot. But rather than just throwing a hotspot in the bin, that's perfectly fine. Like I've got an OG behind here, and that one's.
I was going to
like,
say, I've got a bit of a pile of hotspots.
Yeah, this particular hotspot powers on, does all the actions of the network, but the key on this one isn't mine or the owners, because they asked for it to be binned to be chucked away in the trash. So it just seems like a waste, for those perfect OGs to go in the bin, and not just OGs. There's
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? I mean, you might have a dead hotspot that you've got the ECCs fine. So if AP has enough of them, then he can just replace that for you and have you a new hotspot with the same identity, instead of just wasting another name on the network. I think it's good initiative.
Yeah, it's super cool, and it's let's see, heliumrecycling.com, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Okay.
It's a very quick website that I threw together a few days ago, but yeah, it's going well so far. I've got a couple people already messaging me, and a few. It's only for the UK only for now. But if it gets big enough, then I'll also include America and other places in the world.
Thank you for including us. we consider ourselves a very important country. Oh, that's awesome. All right. So we got the helium recycling stuff. We hit the light hotspots. Let's talk about the consensus. Dave Akers is coming, and that's this big, blockchain cryptocurrency meeting in Austin, Texas, middle of June, something like that?
Yeah, beginning of June. Beginning, middle, yeah.
9 through the 14th, something like that. And Helium is going to have an event there called Helium House that I think is one day. And you're coming in for that. You're not coming in for the whole consensus thing, right?
No, I'm flying in on Friday and leaving on Sunday.
That's your MO. That's how you do it.
Oh yeah, just for I think there's a party on Friday night hosted by Helium, and then Saturday there's an all-day event. I think it's 10 till 7.
Okay. Yeah. And
So
that should be pretty cool, just to kind of see everybody and see what's going on and get the haps on the latest in Helium. I don't know. I think Travis said he's going to be handing out a bunch of magical mappers or something. Neil, I think you knew about this. Or no? No. Oh, you're mute. Did I mute you? No. Guest has muted themselves.
What about the trackers going out? Did you say? Sorry, I was looking at something.
Yeah. No, or I'm frantically looking out to block this jackass and then trying to talk at the same time. No, I think Travis had said he was going to hand out a bunch of something, and I thought they were trackers.
Yeah, the idea is that we've got a load of trackers that we can give away for track packs. So he might be handing out some devices there, or Dave might be as well. So
Okay.
maybe it should be.
Maybe.
Should be.
Very cool. All right. Ripping. And I don't know what else is going on there. I know that I was talking with them about maybe talking on some panel about whatever, some Helium stuff, but I think it's probably going to be the biggest event that Helium has thrown. It's kind of as close to like Helium Con as we're going to get in the next month or two. We're doing a local meetup here in San Diego. I think May 24th. It's Tuesday.
Yeah, can't make that one. Sorry, Nick.
No, come on, dog. You fly in Monday, fly out Wednesday. You're good. No one's going to miss you.
I think Jerry was saying as well, there's some other conferences coming up in Europe. So if you can't make it to the Helium House thing, then there's definitely going to be some activity at some of the cryptocurrency conferences in Europe coming up. So maybe we do a London meet, and I think that'd be cool to do.
Yeah. Oh, that'd be rad. You should organize that.
You don't need a passport for that, Neil.
No.
I don't need a passport for that. I'm so gutted I'm not going. I tried, but it's not happening.
Not going to happen. That's a bummer. Maybe I'll print out like one of those giant, the 2D pictures.
Cardboard cutout of me.
Yeah, I'll just carry you around with me.
That sounds cool.
It's like here in spirit. We'll just like cut a hole in the mouth for email addresses for track pack pickup. So that'll be good. Let's see. I'm going back in the chat, looking at a bunch of stuff. Saad Akhtar is saying, I'm in talks with GeoNet for using Helium for remote stations. GeoNet is that space weather thing, if I remember right. That's another like blockchain plus meatspace thing. There's just so much exciting stuff going on right now, so it's hard to keep up. Let me see if I can keep up with the rest of this chat. I got way behind. And then what else did we did the Light Hotspots, we did consensus, we did the Helium recycling. We can talk about how I lost a bunch of ETH if you guys don't have any. Yeah, so this is a thing I think I'll do a separate video on it that's shorter, so you don't have to wait until whatever 20 minutes in where we are now. But Thursday night I was doing. There's this thing called an Avada where you can stake ETH. You stake like 16 ETH on there, and then you magically make the usual internet money stuff. And so I was trying to figure this thing out, and it is generally kind of marketed as this thing for people like me who are not technically savvy. So you plug it in, you attach your wallet to it with this 16 ETH in it, and then it starts staking, and in a year or so you're a billionaire, like the usual Lambo stuff. I was like, well, I'll just try that, because when I tried that with Helium, that worked really well. And I'd like to see more of that. And like an idiot, I got it. So they run their support on Telegram, which means that when you get on Telegram, you can think that you're talking to someone who's their support guy, but it's not. And I ended up giving my 12 words like a complete idiot to someone I thought was support, and they cleaned out the wallet. It had 18 ETH in it because I was going to stake a little extra. And that was gone. So 18 ETH at whatever 2,000 is 36,000, plus there's some NFTs in there, plus there's some, I think I had like looks as well, looks tokens. So I think I ended up losing about 50 G's, which is like embarrassing and stupid and frustrating. And it's like especially hard to admit, because I feel like that's a years of someone's wages. And I fucking lost that by being an idiot. And I wish I wouldn't have. But at the same time, we hear a bunch of people, you hear this kind of all over the place, where it's like, oh, people are getting scammed, but you don't get to see who the person is. And so I wanted to say like, hey, yeah, Nick Hawks got scammed. I was an idiot. I put my 12 words in. I knew better. I've told people not to do that. And so whenever, like the big message is, if someone is asking you for your 12 words, even if it's your mother, they are scamming you. Like that's 100%. If your mom, if my mom calls up and she's like, hey, Nick, can I get your 12 words? Like I know someone's got a gun to her head and I'm about to get scammed. So
I check that all the time. Every time I talk to people and I own them and I need to send them some HNT or something, I'll check that the profile I'm talking to that's giving me the address is the one that I'm normally talking to. You just need to be so careful with these details and never hand out your 12 words, and just check it every time, because it's the one time you forget to do that you'll get caught out.
That you lose everything.
Well,
I see the chat's blowing up with sightings of Joey walking in. Was that sunny San Francisco or cloudy? Let's see. Occasional clouds.
Beautiful downtown Oakland, California.
All right. Right on. What's going on? You just got out of some.
I'm not showing you the street for a reason.
Yeah, no. If you haven't been to that area, the streets are surprising. Joey, what's going on, dude? What's new?
Hey, it's Monday. I worked through a little bit of stuff this morning, run into the office just to like.
Don't get hit crossing that street, dog.
Clarity. No, we're good. Got 15 seconds.
Okay.
Yeah, stuff's tracking. It was a crazy week last week. I'm sure you guys have been chatting about that a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know how much conversation was relayed about devs are on this kind of, but one of the things that I was just on a call with 𝗚𝗏, and he sort of relayed this point that I don't think we've done a really good job of pushing through, which is that every time we make one of these changes, it's not like going to be an immediate fix. So like when we go and change a chain bar, there's this like wiggly period afterward.
Yeah.
So we make
Flux.
a change, we test, and then we watch, and then we like learn, and then we make a change if we need to again. So I think there's a validator update that just went out. So we'll again be monitoring that. The devs worked through the whole weekend for this.
I'll get you where you sit down. So, I was told this thing was in the can, Joey.
It's in the can.
So what's super cool?
Yeah.
So earnings, yeah, admittedly a little rocky.
Yeah.
Data transfer, way up.
Is working.
So
Way
all
up.
these hotspots
It's way
that
up,
were
isn't it?
previously, not transferring data because they weren't in sync. Like we just opened up, like we unlocked all this extra coverage of the network because of all these hotspots that were previously stuck in this like relayed syncing. So
Yeah.
that's really exciting to see. It's hard for the community to get excited about that because like data transfer earnings are still pretty small right now. But that is some real long-term health of the network there. So I just kind of say like, bear with us. Like all of this like instability right now is for like massive stability in the future. So that is the goal here. It's
Yeah.
kind of expected.
Yep. Dig it.
I don't think people.
Good.
Yeah, so I don't think people appreciate how complex the system is and how many variables there are around it. To get it right first time, there's no way to do a full and proper test on this system. You can put it through any staging environment you like. You won't capture everything. It's just so complex. So it's going to take time. People just have to be a bit patient, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's spot on. And there's like no way to emulate the scale and complexity of what we have in production on testnet. So like there was tons of testing before this happened, but there's only so far that'll take you when you start looking at the way these transactions build up and all that.
Yeah.
The coverage has just improved so much. It's woken up hotspots for me that have been dead for ages, and it's just so nice to see like this extra coverage pop up everywhere. It's just be much more reliable, and it's just where it's not sinking and stuck behind not being able to deliver anything. Like,
Can you
I suppose like all of us
turn mine back on? Can you just turn my hotspot back on, please?
Yeah.
Yeah, you have
Just for
issues,
me.
aren't you?
That's a super good point. I think we may have talked about this last time, but or like 2 shows ago, and when we talk about coverage and actual coverage that's happening, and I know Joey has seen this as well, is when I first started going out to 𝗱𝗫𝘁𝗀𝗲, it was the only hotspot out there, and I would take the mapper, and the mapper would not fire on a significant portion of that 5-mile trail. When I was starting off for the People Counter project, I took the mapper out there. It fired every single time. There is a perfect line with no misses between the start of that trailhead, and that trail is super gnarly. It goes up and down, it goes through valleys, it goes over little mountain passes, goes on both sides of the massif, and the coverage is now, I think every point on that trail has probably 2 or 3 hotspots providing coverage for it. Like we're seeing, even if it doesn't appear that like you can't see it kind of easily or you don't notice it, this is now a network that you can use pretty much anywhere, at least in San Diego, and probably in the kind of developed world. It's a pretty amazing thing we've built. So,
and still building.
And still building. Yeah, like it's not even close to done.
Like it's the thing that I'm always excited about is it like it takes this like moment for me to wrap my head around the coverage that we had or have, and then it's like, well, I'm only like understanding this on like a 2-3 months ago scale because I'm only looking at like my area,
yeah, no, it's whole thing is pretty radical. Let's see. I'm seeing like knuckleheads in the chat. So Neil, it's like I need to get like you, where I've got actual haters. You got some haters.
I know, right?
A symbol that you've made the next.
Well.
You've made the big time. Yeah.
It's always a bit difficult when we're talking on the Discord because some people won't say anything because they just don't want to give their respective brands a bad name. But I'll tell them exactly how it is, So I'm very opinionated, but I'm opinionated for a reason. So
yeah.
Yeah.
And you're running the track pack thing. I mean, so let's make sure that gets plenty of press right there. So trackpack.io. And I think this is actually apropos to this conversation is if you want to kind of help to Helium, is you can
everyone's getting in now.
Go to trackpack.io and put your little tracker on there, and you'll be running data through the network and helping prove coverage and also tracking your stuff. So it's a pretty rad thing. It's kind of one of those pieces where pretty much everybody wins.
Exactly, and it's like the whole point is this network is running on the price of this network is based on speculation at the moment. But if we prove that if we actually get some data credits flowing to enough of a level that gets to this point where we're at the burn to mint equilibrium, where the data is driving the price, so we wouldn't have these wild fluctuations because someone thinks crypto is going to the bottom. It would be based on how much DC we use. So I'm trying to get there as quick as possible. And help people realize that goal,
Yeah, no,
it needs to decouple from the rest of the market, doesn't it?
Exactly.
It will just follow BTC at the moment, as everything does, but because it's got its own unique utility, eventually it should decouple and do what we all want.
Huh, I just almost accidentally banned someone, but I'm not sure how I'm doing it. But now I can see that I can fucking ban. So right to repair when I can get rid of you, you're out, and NA when I can get rid of you, you're out, just so you know. I don't know what I did, but I just saw this like, oh, ban John 𝗪𝗏. And I'm like, no, I don't want to ban John 𝗪𝗏. I want to ban these other knuckleheads. Yeah, you guys are seeing live Nick Hawk's learning. What was I going to say? Oh, there's Jeffrey Lim's on here. Jeffrey, I forget, you've asked for a bunch of help on like IoT stuff and how you can build it. For the folks who are on here, Dave and Joey and Neil and AP, like where are places that we can kind of brainstorm with Jeffrey how he can start using Helium in his area? And you guys have seen his comments, right? And he's saying like, hey, I'm not super good with technicals, but I'm just trying to figure this out. Like Jeffrey is like basically one of our perfect users where he's coming into the network. He wants to use it, super psyched on it, not quite sure how. Where are some of the places to start?
I mean, you need to get a pretty good understanding of the network first, don't you? And I always say start with mappers. But
mappers is a great way to learn how the network works and how to build a device and how to start.
Fucking NA is gone. There was a goddamn ban thing between every person, and I finally figured it out. Cam Live is gonna be like, dude, you are the worst representative for our fucking software because you don't know how to use it. But you guys can also say goodbye to that other jackwagon, right to repair, for giving Neil a hard time. Late.
You gotta get it. You gotta get it, mate. It doesn't bother me. It was not the first time I've been on a Soren video, so
no, it bothers me though because you're a good dude doing good work, and you shouldn't have to take shit for that. All right, so now I got my fucking full attention on Jeffrey Lim. Jeffrey, where are you again? You told me before. It's like I'm not going to embarrass myself by guessing, but it's definitely not in the U.S. Drop it in here, and we'll work with you to figure out what's going on. Okay, you're waiting for your mappers. So, and I think
for the mappers.
Yeah.
It's just that one project that just really helps you understand what you're doing with your hotspot, and also allows you to test things like how well your antenna's set up, and really understand how you're building coverage in a really, really technical way, like really easily. And then beyond that, you can start seeing, well, if I've got a use case that's, I need to track this thing on my yard, or I need to read the temperature of this, and you can start realizing those goals. But mappers is the best way to get there for the first thing, definitely.
Yeah,
there's a lot of guides out there as well to help, isn't there? So It's a gateway
There's some
drug to
fantastic guides now.
sensors.
Yeah, that's a good point. It's like
Yeah.
the mappers are kind of a gateway drug, and there's a bunch of different ways to. Well, we shouldn't say that because that's got negative connotations. There's a bunch of different ways to enter into sensing. Mappers is probably one of the easiest ways, but temperature and humidity is another easy way. And then the elephant in the room for me is not how you get the mapper or like the device to onboard to the network, but how you actually use the data, right? Is that's really difficult for the average user to figure out, and that is still in the realm of someone who totally knows what they're doing, is super technically competent to take that data and then display it in a way that is useful.
Yeah, I just want to share like a little bit of like my origin story and figuring out building devices, which was just like just get a dev board and like get a packet to move through the network. Is literally where I started.
Nope.
And then from there it was like
even there, Joey, like a dev board for me is just like, oh, what's a dev board? Where do I get that? And I think it's like this thing where you just got to Google it and figure it out.
Yeah. Oh, I'm if somebody wants to ping me and be like, which dev board should I get? It's just like there's dozens of them at this point. They're all pretty good. Yeah, like I don't know, just like moving on. It's like it's these like building blocks. It's like, all right, I made something happen over the internet, and then it's like then I did like my chicken coop project way back in the day, so make a door open and close kind of thing. And then it was building the distance sensor, so using a LiDAR, a point LiDAR thing to measure distance. But then all of this stuff sort of like piles into mappers. What was the one thing? Oh, as far as like figuring out what to do with the data, for all of these things, the one thing that I always love the most is just like use the Google Docs integration. If you can get all your data into a CSV or, into a table in Excel or Google Sheets, I think everyone knows how to sort of work with Google Sheets. Like you could be like, I want a chart of this. I want to know what the like last rating was, like all that kind of stuff. It's super easy to like just throw together a dashboard using that, and then go figure out like what is the like enterprise grade tool or thing you want to build. Like you're gonna just get so caught up in like databases and charting libraries and all that stuff if you try to go straight into that. Like figure out what the story is first, and then chase all that stuff.
Yeah. And
it depends a bit on what level you walk in with this with programming knowledge, because if you do, then a dev board's great. But if you don't, there's plenty of off-the-shelf sensors like the Dragino range, really cheap. I like the 𝗷𝗶𝗀𝗁𝗁 range, just a temperature sensor. I pulled a thing to get it going, and then I just had to worry about the integration. And using like Data Cake or 𝗚𝗿𝗶𝘀𝗁𝗁 is a really, really quick way to get going with off-the-shelf sensors. And then that I kind of see that as like prototyping. If you wanted to then extend it and build a business based off of that, that's where you'd start. But then you take that all and make it into a dedicated app. But there's no point doing all of that straight off the bat. You just want to make sure the proof of concept with those kind of tools, and you could do it really, really easily.
Yeah. And then there's folks that help. So I'm seeing PhysTech and H&T Hub, and shout outs for Prof TK. Like there's an ecosystem right now with people who will help you at whatever level you want to come in at, right? If you want to come in at like what I think of as like the iPhone level where you just want shit to work, you can come in there, you can buy an off the shelf piece, and that, who thumbs down me for that? Go fuck yourself. You can come in there and it'll mostly work. Or if you want to get super geeky and learn how to code like that, you can also enter into that way. It's a pretty like welcoming network. So, but yeah, Phys, are you selling stuff through PhysTech, BFG?
Yeah, he's got some 𝗷𝗁 industrial trackers. They're pretty good for, I haven't got one to show, but they're pretty good for tracking. So they're more of an industrial use case. So they're a bit bigger and they take some batteries, but they're nice and rugged. So there's
many ways to jump in for sure. Wow, that's it.
Yeah, I think something we've talked about, Nick, is getting an actuator sat on your desk so that we can fire it off every time you curse.
Yeah,
good luck. Helium.
I'll just be like dodging and jiving the whole time, just trying to get rid of this thing.
You got to go watch some Michael Reeves video on YouTube.
Okay.
Everything he does is like a taser related.
Yeah. No, I think about as close as I was talking with Lee last night. I'm like, I'm going to get a haircut. Like, maybe I'll go get a haircut on a live and be like, hey, if you guys put in $1,000 worth of these super chats, I'll just shave it off. Otherwise, I'm getting a badass follow. That's as close as I'm going to get to this taser getting kicked in the face.
Can we pick the color of it too as well?
Yeah, I'm game. I
nice.
think it'd be fun. It's like you just walking like the gorilla at the beginning, like here's $1,000. Now here's what you're going to do to your head. Let's see. So 619 OTA's got a question about trackers working with TrackPack. It's is it agnostic, Neil, or does it have to be a?
It works if anything. We just need to get a decoder in before we say we work with that device. So like I said to Travis on hacks the other day, every one we've tested, we've ended up having to write our own because they've been slightly wrong or not reporting properly. So as long as we had that stage, it's been fine. But I've tested with Oysters or 𝗱𝗿𝗄𝗏 Ranger sensors was another one, and all the 𝗚𝗏𝗏. So they all work.
They'll work, and you guys are just kind of figuring it out. Okay. Dig it out. Now we're getting all the haircut suggestions, pink and buzzed into Helium logo and diet blue. Yeah, I mean maybe I should do that for the consensus thing, right? Is just show up like a total Helium fanboy.
Live stream the whole thing for those that can't go. There you go.
Yeah, that was all of my live streams so far have been like a disaster. So, but we'll see if I can get it better and better. Although the live streams with iPhone are easy, just with the fancy camera is such a pain in the ass. So, dig it. Dave, I wanted to go back to the analytics stuff. I've seen a couple things from that dude 𝗚𝗏 about this ETL business and like how he gets into it. Can you walk people through like how you're doing what you're doing, and then anything else that you want to talk about on the analytics side? I'd love to hear it.
Okay, at the moment, what the ETL shit its pants, so it's not working at the moment. But it's I've effectively subcontracted all the work to one of our colleagues, but essentially. We've got a server that we've set up. It's quite a high spec server to run the ETL. We've got like 16 terabytes of NVMe disks, and they're filling up rapidly. We've got a Ryzen 5950 processor, which is a high-end processor. So it's not a cheap thing to get into if you want to run it at sort of a production level. I think Jamie Dubs has previously said that he's run it on a NUC, so you can run it on a standalone PC, but you need some fast drives. I think AP's probably got a better solution that he's recently started running with a light ETL, which isn't such a heavyweight proposition. At the moment, the blockchain is growing so quickly. If you imagine the number of beacons and the number of witnesses that are created every block, it creates a row in a database. That the number of rows in that database is increasing exponentially with the number of devices that are coming online, the number of beacons, the number of witnesses. So you really need some heavyweight gear to keep up with it. And I think sometime in the very near future, we're going to have to upgrade again to do that. Once you've got the ETL up and running, you'll get yourself a database that you can then run queries on. So similar to the DY database, the metabase instance that you can go in and you can create custom queries and you can cut the data any which way you like. So that's basically what we're doing with analytics. We're just looking at different cuts of data, and you can go in quickly, and I can write a simple query to say, okay, how many hotspots earned anything yesterday? How many hotspots in this country earned versus the number that are supposed to be online? So you can just look at absolutely anything, and you can make them as complicated as you like. Although with Metabase you do have some issues with timeouts, so if you make it too complicated, it struggles because the data is so huge. But if you're accessing the database directly, you can make these queries do pretty much anything you want, and all the data's there on the blockchain. So you just set your queries going, and you're in data heaven. Sorry.
Cool.
the other reason, just to note, is that you could technically do most of this through the API, but you'll be rate limited to how. So running your own ETL means that you can query that data at any rate you want because it's only your hardware that you're taxing. So
got it.
Yeah.
Okay, and that should be enough for you to kind of get going. I see you're jumping into it. You'll figure it out. Just keep Googling and asking for help. And then, what is there a channel on the Helium server? I'm sure there is for helping out with that stuff. Yeah.
There's a data analysis channel where the geeks tend to hang out. There's a blockchain development channel that helps people with setting up these instances. So,
yeah, dig it.
so we've got
if anyone,
guest in the background.
Shoot.
Sorry.
I was just going to say, for anyone that gets super excited about this, we're actively hiring a data engineer on the foundation side.
Okay, so if you want to do this for work, Foundation's there. Yeah.
Get in there, Dave.
Yeah. Put in your.
We'll see you in a month, so let's talk.
Yeah.
That's exciting stuff.
I was just saying, Nick, we've got a guest in the background.
Who's that?
Over your right shoulder.
Is Marvel there? He's busy. Mars, what are you doing, dog? You ready to kill? I got a couple people for you to see if you can murder. It's like sick balls, chapter. Where's NA? Grinsland Sander, just one big question: when will the network resolve from all this drama? I don't know, like a week is my guess. That's my.
The update's going out today. We should see some hints that it's heading in the right direction, but no one can give you any good metrics for a couple of days. Is basically what they're saying.
Yeah.
You know, just
I think there'll be some step changes with each new release, and as Joey said earlier, the guys will learn from what's happened. New things will probably crop up, but ultimately everything's going to be moving in the right direction. So you just got to give it time. It's
Yeah, just one of those things. I mean, I'm seeing folks coming on, and 𝗱𝗲𝗀𝗶𝘀𝗀 coming on like this. This is the classic thing: is my Bobcat miners are flatlining. What's going on? Is A1, what's going on is you're not paying attention, right? Is that there's a giant network change happening right now. No hotspot miners right now should be expected to be working all the time perfectly. You should expect kind of turbulence, or Neil, you had a better word for it.
Flux. I call it flux. It's
Yep.
just flux, on time around an issue. We've always had it, if there was ever a release of firmware, it took 2 days, 3 days to see that change happen. So we've expected it, but I just don't think people have quite realized that it's not an instant fix. It takes some time.
Yeah. And I like the spell of facking. Great, thanks, buddy. The Irish.
I think people need to understand as well that it's not necessarily their hotspot that's flatlined.
Right.
If all the hotspots in your area aren't beaconing, then you're not going to witness anything, and the vast majority of your rewards are going to come from witnessing. Although maybe at the moment that's slightly skewed, because I've heard stories of large beaconing rewards. But if every hotspot in your area is not beaconing, then you're not going to witness anything. Your rewards are going to seem to be flatlined. Let's say the guys are working on it. Things will improve.
Yeah, for sure. And then this John McQuarrie, there's another great question that came up is once we get through it, what's the data needs of a light hotspot? There's 75 to 100 megabytes a month is what I'm seeing on my DIY miners, which is the equivalent of a light hotspot. Like, it's nothing. It's going to totally change the game for off-gridders for sure. You're going to need really small data plans, and I think we're going to see some really cool kind of light hotspots coming down the pipe that are built for these really low demands, and that'll be super cool.
Yeah, it's coming, isn't it? I mean, the hotspots are still sinking a little bit at the moment, just as a backup. But when that gets dropped in a week or so, the usage should be really low, and the only time that it's really going to creep up is if we have a lot of firmware updates. So, maybe the first month we'll see a bit of a slower, quicker release schedule. But once we're through that period, it should be even lower. So.
Yeah. No, and then 𝗱𝗲𝗀𝗀𝗀, it is your fault for not paying attention, dog. As you put money into this, you should totally know what you're doing with the money. And I get it, like, it's a big complex system, and so you can't keep track of everything. But this is it's one of the biggest things outside. One of the biggest things going on. It's kind of like going outside during the middle of the day and saying, like, why is the sun out? Like, well, read a little bit and you'll catch up. And I don't mean to be such an asshole, but maybe I do. It seems like the right thing to do.
Yeah, I'll go into Southern California and saying, why is the sun not out?
Yeah, that's a different thing. Michael D, is it best to turn off the hotspot to help keep the network stable? Look, I think it's a funny question, but it's also like a reasonable question from someone who's not technically savvy. I don't think that. Yeah, I would say no. I'd just leave it on. But what do you got, Joey?
Yeah, no.
Better for everyone else on the network. So it's like walking into a bar to start a fight and saying, I'm going to punch myself in the face. Like, okay. Knock yourself out, like literally, go for it. It's not a great way to run a fight from the fights that I've been in. Usually, you want to do
technically.
Good.
Technically, everything in that hotspot is actually like running as it should. It's just the delivery of this stuff's not going through. So when the change goes through, it could be really quick and fix it for you. But if you've got it turned off, you're just gonna have to wait a few days, right? It's not really going to help.
Yeah. I'm leaving all my stuff on. So that's it. Grinsland, 2 cents caps in my town doing great, but the rest of the town is digging crumbs. Yeah, it's just gonna see. So this is kind of Dave Akers' expertise, is showing you how that looks from a network perspective. Is that we're going to see these giant variations, but across the 800,000 hotspots in the network, all those are almost all those are totally expected and pretty normal. So, yeah, we see something in our little world, and because it's the only thing we can see, it appears to be a giant deal. But in the big world, things are going okay. So, ripping. 5 minutes left here. Anything that you guys want to hit?
In reply to Jeffrey Cook's comment, he's saying where should he go for if he's interested in developing sensors or use cases. There's a couple of channels on the Discord, so the sensor dev and sensor usage. There's also use cases for businesses. So head over there and have a chat with people. There's so many people that will happily talk data with you all day, and get you set up and show you every project and what to do and everything. So head over to those channels.
Yeah, and I'll put in a plug for the Gristle crew. So we meet tomorrow, Tuesdays at 10 a.m. Pacific. It's a much smaller group. It's a much more polite group than the audience has been here. And that's one of the things we're talking about right now is a lot of our talks. It's a Zoom call are on sensors. Tomorrow we're having Brian Bowie from Parley Labs come on. He started off as an engineer. He's got this engineering background doing rapid prototyping development for sensors for the Navy. And so he's going to come on and talk to us for an hour about what we can use sensors for and how to use them in the Helium network. So if you want more and you don't mind paying $50 a month, jump on that. That's my plug for sure. Richard Edwards had a cue. Is that Richard Edwards the same guy who's just south of you, who's like the antenna guru? It may well be.
It may well be. In response to that, I think somebody's already created some of those queries, and they are looking at the relationship between RSSI and SNR to try and weed out cheaters. And I think some of what's the website that's been set up that shows the graph theory? That there's some information on there as well. Yeah.
Crowdspot.io.
Yeah. So that's got
pretty
some
good. You can see the RSSI.
Yeah. So it's already been done. It's technically it's outside of what I'm looking at doing from the analytics that I'm looking at. I'm looking at it more from a rewards and health of the network rather than weeding out people that may or may not be doing things that aren't strictly ethical. It's something that I want to do more of in the future, but what I'm really looking for is for people to provide the data to me and provide reports to me that we can host on Helium Analytics, so that we get a good all-round picture of the entire network and what's going on. So if anybody out there wants to write a report on anything data related, I've got some funds that I can basically provide for that information. So DY, the Helium Foundation, as part of my grant, gave me some money to give out. So
yeah, I see Joey giving the thumbs up there, our technical director for Helium Foundation.
Quick plug, since we're talking about me. Keep an eye out this week for a HIP 51 AMA. So we're going to get the HIP authors in there, maybe Amir or some other folks, to talk about how this Omni protocol thing is going to work. Try to break down all these crazy acronyms.
Yeah. And so I think that's addressing some questions about, is 5G going to have a separate token than HNT? Maybe we can hit that in the next one. We're kind of running out of time here.
So totally. Love to dig into that.
So I finished this off with saying thanks a ton for all of you for coming on. Thanks for bearing with me as I sorted out the technical incompetence. And thanks to all the guys who came on today, to AP, to Dave Akers, to Neil, to Joey. And just sharing your knowledge. This is kind of what I think is one of the coolest parts of the Helium community, is that you get folks who come on and, like, no one on this show yet is getting a Tesla for being on this show, right? Everyone's doing this out of the goodness of their heart. Yeah, well, Neil and I will work on it.
You promised. Yeah, you promised.
Yeah, I did promise. It's such like a cool example of folks coming on and saying, yeah, I'll put in an hour and I'll answer questions and I'll help people. And I'll take my time, and I'm not expecting anything big out of it. And that's such a rad piece of Helium and probably kind of the crypto world in general, is that it's 98% awesome people really contributing, putting their shoulder to the wheel to move things forward, and then 2% assholes. And that's how humanity is. So ripping. Anything else you guys have before you want to jump off? Any shout outs, places to point people, things to do? Okay.
Shout out Soren.
To Soren, yeah. Rock on. Soren, come on the show, dude. Reach out to me. I'm all over the internet. So you can look for Gristle King. You'll find me. I'd love to have you on here and hear get your take on why you're being so amoral with your skill set. I'd like to see that thing put to good use. So, okay. I think that's it. Thanks, guys. I will see you next week. The Gristle crew, Sean and Leon and the rest of you guys on there. I'll see you tomorrow. I'm super psyched, and I'll answer some of the questions that you guys put in the chat today, tomorrow on the crew, so that we can knock those things out. All right. That should do it for today. Lights.
All right. Take it easy.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
See you later.